Good morning.
Morning, everyone.
Birthday boy. Just want to thank you all for coming Friday night and celebrating my birthday with me. And man, the place was packed. Too bad we couldn't get them all to come back today.
Hey, you didn't tell them, though.
Yeah. So I felt very loved, very honored. And, I've been to many churches, but this one really is my church. I mean, I love this church. I love all of you. Appreciate all of you. It's just thinking about, Adam and Stacy and Mike and Debbie. They've been here almost as long as, actually, Mike's been here longer than me, Mike and Debbie. But you guys have been here all these many years, and Kim and Willie, and just amazing that you stuck it out with me all these years and have not gotten mad at me or, frustrated with me and left. But you guys mean a lot to me. Well, we are doing this series of lessons on seeing people through the eyes of Jesus. And the reason I wanted to do this sermon series is it's kind of a follow-up from the series that we did before that and the one before that on sharing our faith with others and learning how to be bold and courageous and talk to people about our faith. The last series was always be prepared to give an answer to anyone who asks you, to give the reason for the hope that you have in you, yet do this with gentleness and respect. And, we talked about how important it is to not be arrogant, not be judgmental, not be condemning of people, not to write people off, but to have compassion for them. And so seeing people through the eyes of Jesus helps us to think about how we're looking at people and what we're thinking about them, because we have a very skewed lens when it comes to judging people. I mean, we lop people into groups based on something maybe we see in them, or we hear them say something or do something, and then and we pass this judgment on them. And a lot of times it steers us away from them. And so trying to look at people the way Jesus did, because Jesus, I mean, he was among the crowds all the time. There were times when, there were probably 20, 30 with him, but most of the time there were hundreds. And they followed him everywhere. And he looked out at them, and he'd come into a town and see different ones. Maybe begging or sick or something. How did he view these people? Did he look at them with scorn or disgust about who they are or what they did? Or no, he didn't do that. And last week we were talking about how Jesus looked at the crowds, and it says, and he had compassion on them because they were like sheep without a shepherd. They were harassed and helpless like sheep without a shepherd. And then he went on to tell his disciples, the harvest is plentiful. There's all these people out here searching for me, and you have the answers. And so open your eyes, look out, and go out and tell them the good news, why I've come to save them. And this is just another passage in the Gospels that we're all familiar with, but it really gives us insight into the heart and mind of Jesus. How did he view people? When he looked out at the people, what did he see? In this passage, he said, "Come unto me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light." That doesn't sound like a judgmental person, does it? Sounds like somebody who really cares. And that's who we need to become. We need to be able to look at people and have compassion on them and have a desire to help them and to reach out to them. You know, I was talking to Willie just before church, and he was telling me that on his way home from the party, his car began to stall.
Oh.
And he said he had to turn into the what's it called, Days Inn on Encinitas Boulevard, call Marcia to come pick him up. He had the kids with him. And the next day he was over there, he had the hood up, and he was working on his battery, changing it out. And this truck pulls in, this man and woman. And they said, "Hey, what are you doing?" "No, nothing, just putting the battery in." "You need some help? We can help you." And Willie was sharing that with me, and he was thinking, gosh, man, why did God bring those people to me? You know, what is the deeper meaning of this? And I believe we have to start thinking that way, that we need to be listening and our ears open and our eyes lifted up and seeing people the way Jesus saw people. And I'll tell you what, this particular one really fits our society, doesn't it? "Come unto me, all you who are weary and burdened." That's us. That's how Jesus looks at the crowd. He sees all these people weary of the struggles of life. I was just thinking about my own life, the everyday grind. You know, just the routine I go through every morning. Get up, go make a pot of coffee, you know, get my computer set up, get some lessons laid out, start thinking about, okay, what are my priorities today? You know, what do I need to prepare for Tuesday morning? What do I need to prepare for Wednesday night? What am I going to preach on this week? And I'm going through this process of setting priorities and making preparations and then there's all the little things, brushing your teeth and combing your hair, and that takes me a long time. but it's a routine, right? It's a grind. It's not, it's not an enjoyable thing. It's just something that it's part of my world. It's part of my life. And on Sunday mornings, again, what time do I need to leave? I need to leave there early enough, because if somebody didn't sweep the floors and do the chairs, I'm going to be the one doing them. So I need to go early. So I left at 7:30, and I'm already frazzled. And I'm backing out of my driveway, and I clip my wife's car. And I tear the back of her bumper back, put a big dent in my front. And I get out of the car and I run upstairs and I say, "Oh man, I just clipped your car." She says, "Man, 70 catches up to you quick, doesn't it?" Yep. So when you start seeing dents all over my car, you'll know I'm at that age. But this grind, it's just life's a struggle. I mean, it really is. We just go on and on and on, and it can be difficult, very difficult. And then I think about when I turn the TV on, and I do watch the news, and I know I tell you guys not to do that, but it's depressing, isn't it? I mean, you turn it on, and all you hear about is crime and political hate and religious factions and wars, and And it's just nonstop. We're just bombarded with all this negativity constantly. And I'll watch it for a little while and I'll turn it off. And it's weird, but my mind just like goes, oh, thank you. I mean, it's just all just having some peace for a moment. But that's the daily grind. That's life. That's my world. And it's a struggle, It's a struggle knowing what am I going to do to fix this? And how am I going to take care of that? I think about just being weary from sin and sickness and pain and death. Man, I'm always doing something that I'm ashamed of. It seems like usually it has to do with driving, but you get weary of it after a while. You're thinking, gosh, can't you get past this? Can't you figure this out and stop it? And then I get in my car and evidently not. And it's not funny, you guys. It's reality. It's reality. And it frustrates me to no end. And I think about like Jerry. Man, look what this guy's gone through. And then doing nothing out of the ordinary to deserve this, just getting out of the shower, he snaps his femur again. Back in the hospital, back into surgery, back into rehab, another couple months before he'll even be, getting where he can get around a little bit. Life's a struggle. It wears you out. And then the burdens of all the demands on us. I just thinking about caring for our families. I have a 40-year-old child that I worry about all the time. My kids are always on my mind, and I'm always thinking, what can I say? What can I do? How can I help? What should I not say? And it's a burden. And maybe that sounds harsh to say caring for your family's a burden, but it's a burden. It is. Taking care of our parents in their old age was what we loved doing and we wanted to do, but it's a burden. It's stressful. It weighs heavy on you. You're always thinking, okay, what's going to happen today? What are we going to have to do today? And it's really a burden. And I'm not saying that in a mean way, because we all get to that place someday. But what I'm saying is that these are part of our lives that wear us out and make us feel really heavy, loaded with burden. And it takes the joy out, doesn't it? It robs us of our peace because we're always stressing over these things. Think about making ends meet financially. Our jobs, we feel like we're underappreciated, underpaid, overworked. Here I am, 70, retiring. But did I save enough? You're watching the stock market, see what happens to your retirement, and half of it, not half of it, a bunch of it evaporates in overnight because they bombed Iran or something. And you feel this load on your back. You just feel like life's hard. This isn't how I thought it would be when I got to this age. And getting in your car and backing into your wife. Look, the point I'm trying to make is All of us, all of them go through these same things. Life isn't all peaches and cream. It's a struggle. And it's an unending struggle. Once we get past one, it's like another one meets us. Jesus saw that. Not only did he see that, he could have got mad at them because of the stupid things that they were trying to do to get through. But he had compassion on them. He loved them. He wanted to help them. Another one that it just drives me nuts is navigating relationships. Being misunderstood or getting into conflict with someone, or just like trying to deal with my 40-year-old child, talk to him, and he's a grown man. And navigating just relationships, whether they're friends or neighbors. I got this awkward relationship with my neighbors now because of something I said. And drivers. I got a really awkward one with them. Again, the point is these things, they rob our joy, they rob our peace. And it just makes life miserable. So Jesus says, all you who are weary and heavy burdened, come to me. I'm inviting you to come to me. And he's reaching out. He's reaching out his hand and he says, come to me. I want to help you with your struggles. Take my yoke upon you. You know what yokes were for? Yokes were to share the burden. Yokes, back in his days were big wooden things that had carved out 2 neck harnesses that sat over the neck of the oxen and that sat over the neck of another oxen. And the purpose of it was to share the load so it wouldn't be so heavy. Because one alone couldn't do it, but 2 could. And that is exactly what he's saying. I want to share the load with you. I want to help you. I want to help carry that burden. When I was putting this particular point together, it made me think of Paul, as we just finished up the book of Acts and are looking in Philippians now, but all the things the Apostle Paul went through. And his life, man. But one thing that he always looked at was the positive side of things. He always thought, don't feel sorry for me. This is open up a door of service to the Lord in some way. The Lord has put me in Roman prison so that I might convert the guard in some of the palace. And so I might write these letters to the churches that I had started in the book of Acts. He always saw the positive side of everything. And here, he's looking at some of the things that he's going through. He says in Philippians 4, verse 12, he says, I know what it is to be in need, and I know what it is to have plenty. I have learned the secret of being content in any and every situation, whether well-fed or hungry, whether living in plenty or in want. I can do all things through him who gives me strength. Jesus will help us carry the burden, but he doesn't necessarily take the burden away. I want you to see that. Paul didn't pray, remove all these burdens in my life, remove all the struggles from me so that I can, be at peace and minister the gospel to people. No. God doesn't take any of those away. He says, let me help you carry them. And Paul, notice he says, I have learned the secret of being content. It's a secret to most people to be content. We're always wanting something, right? I mean, we live our whole life. I'll tell you what, I've been planning for retirement for a long time. I have envisioned all these grand dreams. Rome. We're always we always have in our minds that if I can just do this, or if I can just get here, if I then my life will be so wonderful. And it just doesn't turn out that way, right? Jesus helps lighten the load from us. He takes that burden from us, not remove it, but shares it with us. And then he goes on to say this. He says, come unto me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me. Learn from me. Jesus wants to teach us how to live life right. Right? He wants us to learn from him how to live life right. What's he going to teach us? Well, he's going to teach us how life works because he understands it. He knows how life works. Jesus said in John 8:31-32, he says, if you abide in my word, then are you truly my disciples, and you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. Set me free from what? Set me free from a lot of burdens and struggles and stresses. Learn from me, and I'll teach you how to live life right. This is something I believe. It's my opinion, but I believe most of our struggles and most of our, things that we suffer are self-inflicted. We bring it upon ourselves because we're not living life right. We say things we shouldn't say. We do things we shouldn't do. We spend money on stuff we shouldn't spend money on. We do all this stuff, and then we suffer consequences because of it. And we're like, wow, this is no fun. Jesus says, come to me, abide in my word. And if you abide in it, if you practice this, if you hold faithful to this, it will set you free. It will set you free so you don't have to keep making these same mistakes over and over and over and over again. Jesus boldly said, I am the way, I am the truth, and I am the life. He is the absolute professor of life. He knows everything about life. Why? Because he studied it. He designed it. He created it. It was all his plan. He wrote the book. This is his manual. And so he created us. He knows everything about us. He knows what sets us off and what makes us happy and what causes us to feel bad. He knows everything. He knows what excites us, things that tempt us. He knows all of it, every aspect of life, because he designed it. John 1:1-3 says, in the beginning was the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God. Through him all things were made. Without him nothing was made that has been made. And verse 14 says, and the Word became flesh and dwelt among us, and we beheld his glory. It's Jesus. Jesus was in the beginning with the Father, and all things were created by him. In Colossians 1:15 through 17, the Son is the image of the invisible God. When you look at Jesus, who do you see? You see the invisible God. How do you see that? In what he does, in what he says, how he lives. He says, the Son is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn over all creation. For in him all things were created, things in heaven and on earth, visible and invisible, whether thrones or powers or rulers or authorities. All things have been created through him and for him. He is before all things, and in him all things hold together. He knows life better than anybody you know, better than you know for sure. He knows what we need. And so he asks us to come to him and to yoke ourselves with him, to place ourselves under that yoke and learn from him, to listen to his teachings and to take them seriously. They are true. They will set you free. They will help you to be a better person. And anybody who has tried it knows this one thing: his ways work. They work. Jesus said the thief comes only to steal, kill, and destroy. He's the tempter. He's the one who is going to destroy and steal your joy and ruin your life. But I have come that you might have life and have it to the full. I want you to experience life to the full. He says, my yoke is easy and my burden is light. You know, we were talking this morning. I think I was talking with William. I'm not sure if this conversation was with him, but we're talking about the youth. And we have no young people. I mean, Brent and Jamie's 2 children, Willie's grandchildren. And the truth is we're not the only church like that there's a generation of kids who have just fled Christianity. They're not interested in it. I guess they're the enlightened ones. I don't know, but Jesus said his yoke is easy and his burden is light. I think that those kids are not here because they think the opposite. And maybe because we as parents were too strict. I don't know. I certainly was. Overbearing. You're going to church. Get in there and get dressed. Okay, we're having a devotional this morning. No, you're not going anywhere. Get in here and sit at the table. And we really, really tried what we thought was doing the right thing. But maybe we gave them a picture of Jesus that's not accurate. Maybe Jesus is humble. Maybe I could have used a little more humility when I was a young father. Jesus is gentle. Maybe I could have toned my voice down a little bit and spoke with a little bit more love and concern instead of judgment. Answer that phone. Can't find it. Oh, is that your phone, Renell? 1,000 houses. Isn't it funny? 70 catches up with you fast. It's okay. I'm just playing, Renell. The point I'm making is that Jesus is humble and gentle. And sometimes we give people the impression that he is a mean, hard taskmaster that is going to make my life so miserable, demanding all these things from me that I can't have fun. I can't do anything that's my other friends are doing and so forth. And so their mindset is, I don't want that. I want to enjoy my life. Jesus said, come unto me because my yoke is easy and my burden is light. I'm humble and gentle in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. In other words, I am compassionate. I understand your weariness and your burdens. I understand how harassed you feel and helpless. I understand all those things about your life, and I feel for you. I want to help you. And I'm not putting a big load on your shoulders. My yoke is easy and my burden is light. He's kind and compassionate. In Hebrews 4:15 and 16, it says, for we do not have a high priest who is unable to empathize with our weaknesses, but we have one who has been tempted in every way, just as we are, yet was without sin. In other words, he understands. He understands how hard it is. Let us then approach God's throne of grace with confidence so that we may receive mercy and find grace to help us in our time of need. He's humble and gentle. He's compassionate, kind. He's empathetic. He knows how hard it is. He knows how people can really get you angry. He knows all this stuff. And he wants to help you. And his ways are not difficult. Burden is light. You know, what's that proverb says? Two are better than one. The idea that, you know, it's like when we clean up after potluck. One person can do it and it'll take forever. Not forever, but a long time. But if several people do it, guess what? It's over in a short amount of time. It's easy. And so the idea of being yoked to Jesus, that he shares that burden with us, that he understands what we're going through, that he is humble and gentle, and his yoke is easy and his burden is light. His ways are not difficult. They're not complex. They're very simple. You don't need a college education to get help from Jesus. You know, you don't need to study psychology. Think about all the self-help books around. No, his ways are simple and easy. And he offers rest for our soul. This is something that only Jesus can give. And when you think about what we really need rest for is our souls. Because life weighs heavy on our souls. We're trying to do good. We're trying to be good Christians. We're trying to do the right things. And we fail often at them. We need rest. We need to be able to have peace in our lives. So Jesus comes and he offers this help, this this yoke to share the load with you, to lighten up the burden that you carry through life, to help you overcome the struggles that you go through on a daily basis. He relieves the stress and anxiety out of those things. I mean, go back and read Matthew chapter 6, 25 through 34. This is the Sermon on the Mount. And what he tells us there is he says, do not worry about your life, what you will wear or what you will eat or what you will drink. Don't worry about that. God knows you have all those needs. He says, look at the creation. Look at the birds of the air. They don't worry. They don't fret over things. God takes care of them. God is always there to help us. That's why Paul in Philippians 4, 15 and 16, he could say that. I've learned the secret. What's the secret, Paul? It's to cast all your worries on him because he cares for you. To bring your stress and your anxiety to him. You're worrying about your children? Give it to Jesus. Give it to Jesus and then trust and obey. You know, he tells us in that passage in Matthew chapter 6 not to worry, to seek first the kingdom of God. And then in the last verse, verse 34, he says, each day has enough worry for itself. Don't think into the future and worry about that too. Just deal with what you're going through now, the stress, anxiety. Give it to me. Let me help you with this. I think about how that truly does restore peace to us. When Sean died, I was like really frazzled. I was really, confused and a little angry, a little sad, a lot sad. But I kept thinking, I wonder if he's in heaven. I wonder if he's in heaven. And that really weighed heavy on me. And I stressed over that. And I thought about conversations we had and things that he had written to me. And I was trying to, rethink all of those interactions that I had with him when he was alive. And I was just I was down until I finally really did give it to God. And I said, God, I know that you love us, that you love all of us. And I know that you're a merciful and loving God. And I know that you love Sean. And Lord, I trust you with whatever you do. And I give Sean to you, Father. And I finally had a little peace. I finally was able to say, you know what? I'm going to be okay. I know God. I know Jesus. And he will get me through this. And I trust him completely. You know, I think about how so many people go through life and they don't realize all these struggles, these worries and fears that they have, how to really address them. And I think they're always looking for something to maybe numb them of those struggles or blind them from those fears. I think about people like Zacchaeus. Zacchaeus he had chosen a career that wasn't the best. You know, his career was one that his own people hated him. He worked for the Roman government, collecting taxes from the Israelites, and they didn't like that at all. And then on top of that, they would cheat and charge them more than the Romans exacted. And so the people hated him. But I'm sure he had a wealthy life. You know, he probably had a big mansion and drove a nice car and all that stuff, but it wasn't a good life. And the reason I know it wasn't a good life is because he heard about Jesus and came to him. And you remember the story that he was a small guy. He couldn't really see over all the other people. So he climbed up in a tree. I think it was a sycamore tree, wasn't it, Adam? Sycamore tree, yeah. At least that's the song goes like that. But he climbs up in this tree to see Jesus. And when Jesus sees him, do you think Jesus knew he was a tax collector? Of course he did. Do you think he knew he cheated people out of money? Absolutely. But he looks up there and he sees him and he says, Zacchaeus, come on down. I want to have lunch with you today. I want to go to your house. And Zacchaeus immediately, what do you think Zacchaeus was feeling? Do you think he was feeling judged or condemned? Not at all. He was feeling hopeful. He was thinking, wow, you want to eat lunch with me? Maybe you don't know about me. And the story tells us that all the crowd was mumbling under their breath. Doesn't he know he's a sinner and a tax collector? But Zacchaeus stands up and he says, look, Lord, I give half my wealth to the poor. And if I have cheated anyone out of anything, I will pay them back 4 times the amount. And Jesus looked at the crowd and he said, this man has found salvation today. Not just salvation, peace, right? Because now he's on a different trajectory. And that's how it is with us too. When we come out of sin into the grace of God, and we begin changing our lives, and we begin, treating people with respect and kindness and compassion, and we begin working on our relationships and our marriages and with our children, and our lives begin changing. And as our lives begin changing, we see that his ways work. And our peace is restored. And we start having joy again. You know, Paul said in Romans 12:1, he said, or Romans 12:2, he said, do not conform any longer to the pattern of this world. Zacchaeus was living by the pattern of this world. But be transformed by the renewing of your minds. Learn from Jesus. Yoke yourself with Jesus. Learn from him. And he says, by the renewing of your minds, so that you may test. That suggests he's applying these things he's learning and approve. He's going to find them to be good. This good, pleasing, perfect will of God. But it really is learning, applying. What's that song, Adam, that Jim likes so much? Trust and obey. Just trust and obey. There's no other way. And when we start doing that, guess what happens? Our peace and joy is restored to us. We're not doing stupid things that get us into situations that we regret, are ashamed of, and all those things. We start living life to the full. That's the truth. That's the truth. He gives us hope in this life and the life to come after it. And finally, this idea of rest for your souls. He gives us rest from our guilty conscience. You know, when he says in Hebrews 2:14 and 15, he says, since the children have flesh and blood, he too, Jesus, shared in their humanity, so that by his death he might break the power of him who holds the power of death. That is the devil. and free those who all their lives were held in slavery by their fear of death. Do you fear death? I don't. Why do people fear death? Judgment, maybe? I don't know. Maybe they're worried that, they're gonna be punished. Or maybe they think that they just won't be able to enjoy life anymore. I don't know, but people fear death. Not Christians. We have hope, right? Not the kind of hope that the rest of the world has. We have hope that because Jesus died and rose again, we too shall rise one day and live forever with him. Rest from the fear of death. And really, the world should be afraid of death without Jesus, because the wages of sin is death. But the free gift of God is eternal life through Christ Jesus our Lord. And ultimately, that rest in heaven. And I just will close with this passage from Revelation chapter 21. I just love thinking about heaven. Heaven. In John's vision, he ends the book of Revelation talking about heaven. And he says, I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth had passed away, and there was no longer any sea. I saw the holy city, the new Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, prepared as a bride beautifully dressed for her husband. And I heard a loud voice from the throne saying, now the dwelling of God is with men, and he will live with them, and they will be his people, and God himself will be with them and will be their God. He will wipe every tear from their eyes. There will be no more death or mourning or crying or pain, for the old order of things has passed away. He who is seated on the throne said, I am making everything new. Then he said, write this down, for these are the words. These words are trustworthy and true. He said to me, it is done. I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. To him who is thirsty, I will give drink without cost from the spring of the water of life. He who overcomes will inherit all this, and I will be his God, and he will be my son. Heaven. There won't be any more stress or anxiety or fear or pain or crying or sickness or death or sin. No more struggles. Rest. Complete and total rest. I don't know about you. Come, Lord Jesus. That's how I feel. I am ready now to go home. This world is not my home. I'm just a passing through. We're going to sing this song in closing. What a perfect song. Number 957. Let's all be standing.